The Elven Barracks from Kingdom Rush Origins is the strongest out of the 3 games. With that said, the counter barrack units from this game is also the strongest out of the 3. So let's see if these twins can take on the challenge. The first level just went down with me frantically clicking around the map to get an interaction or something. With the second tier, I already had access to the ranged attack of my soldiers, and they're kinda ass. Most ranged attacks from units in these games were pretty strong, so I had really high expectations, and they weren't met. It doesn't really matter for now though. These furries still had no chance against my fanboys. The next level introduced the first hurdle for this challenge, the hyenas. These bastards run past my units and can't be blocked. Not that difficult to deal with though. For now, our ranged attacks were enough. Emphasis on for now. The peritons were basically the same kind of threat as the hyenas, and the way to deal with them was also the same. For now. It was nice that you can unlock the range attack for the reinforcements early on in this game. Moving on was another level with an awesome design. It's kinda understated how cool the art of these games are. With the introduction of the Gnoll Blighters, the final tier of my cock and ball torture was unlocked. They're strong enough to overpower Eridan, they outrange my barracks, and they deal a fuck ton of damage. On top of this, my dumbass completely forgot about terrain interactions, and the left side of the track did not have a single tower on it. I bought the evacs from the special tower hoping they could pick up anyone that gets past, but aside from sounding funny, these furry fucks were completely useless. All the bullshit they threw were just missing. Straight up 500 gold wasted. Ettins were also here. One would assume these guys would be a problem since I have no mages to apply high damage to them, but my barracks combined were somehow enough to get past their regeneration. These gnolls kept chevron maxing and burned down another path in the forest. But at this point, the whole map was filled with my army of effeminate men, so we were chilling. Sadly, due to the hyenas that slipped past in the beginning, I couldn't 3-star this level. The first tier 4 of the challenge was unlocked now. These guys may seem like a downgrade at first, since they lose the range attack, but once you get the blade dance ability for them, they basically ascend the mortal plane. It is pretty expensive though, and I didn't realize it was expensive, so now they were watching all these hyenas run past them. Oh, also my Queen Ellery is here. Apparently the Elven capital fell and we're trying to save her.
We must move on.
These evil purple twinks started attacking me as well, but they were no match for my blade singers. With the maxed out blade dance ability, my blade singers were even one-shotting these Ettins, and able to target hyenas while sprinting, but the peritons were still a problem, as you can see. Aside from that, we were absolutely chilling. Now, it was time to face the boss of this area. Katya was unlocked, so I wanted to try her out. She's pretty okay, but I simply don't have the area burst to utilize her stun, so she's not the best for this challenge. I made the exact same mistake of buying Blade Singers early without any money to buy the Blade Dance ability, so I lost a couple lives. I was worried because I wanted to 3-star this level, but the peritons from the next wave kindly reminded me that I will not be getting any more than 1 star in this stage. Into the next waves, these Elven Griffon Riders showed up. They're pretty nice, but they deal magic damage, so not much of a use against the Blighters. Managed to set up my Blade Dancers, somehow managed to reach the final wave, but then got cheesed by the hyenas and the peritons, and took my first L. I switched back to Eridan for his special ability and went for another round. My placements were mostly correct, but I should have focused on the left entrance a bit more and fill it up with tier 3 barracks as fast as possible. And yeah, this was doing the job. Blighters started coming in from the left side. They kept getting stalled by my units, but I had no damage to actually kill them. Repositioning also wasn't an option because of their massive range. You could say they were in a tight knot with me, or whatever the saying goes. As you can see, legit nothing that's grounded and melee was going to get past my blade gods. The harassers were absolutely fodderized by them, for example. Even dozens of them weren't enough. There were a bunch of these Ettins left at the end of the 15th wave, but this was actually good for me, since it let me wail out my cooldowns. Now, it was time for the boss. This guy is so ass. He can't one-shot units. He can't even damage multiple units. His only gimmick, the map-wide attack, doesn't even do anything since he doesn't spawn any waves. This was actually the most pathetic boss fight in all of the games. And he just died. Now to the next stage. The Crackhead Woods. Yeah, this level was pretty easy. My general idea was to take some of these guys early on before they reached their travel crystals. Satyrs were simply weak as hell. The hoplites were kind of a nuisance, since they can spawn satyrs even when blocked, but it still wasn't that big of a deal. And the web spitters were also just getting countered by my blade dancers. Even the last big hoplite wave was dealt with easily. This was a rare level where I was kinda having fun. Don't worry, this will change soon. My barracks reached max level as well. Rexon was unlocked and I wanted to give him a try. He's okay I guess, but I thought I could get away with the lack of a ranged attack in the later levels. By the way, the forest keepers were unlocked, and they're kinda goated too. One thing I was noticing was the lack of special towers in this game. In Frontiers, like 90% of the levels had some extra thing going on with them. Sure, there are stuff in these levels as well, but it's usually the same thing like the flowers and the travel crystals used over and over again. Gloomies were here. I was kinda worried about these guys given our lacking ranged damage, but like they weren't all that for some reason. Apparently they actually have a limit to how much they can duplicate, so for now the poison flowers were just enough for them. The Twilight Scourges were actually the weakest of these summoner/warlock type enemies I've seen. They didn't spawn anything, they were pretty weak at melee, and their gimmick of disabling towers was also countered since I was doing a barracks only run. The Bandersnatches were kind of overpowering my forest guards, but I had another wave of guards and a couple of fanboys waiting for them at the end, so it wasn't a big deal. I can also one-shot one of them using Rexon's ability called Fuck You in particular. This stage was also done without any major trouble. The devs must have heard my bitching and the next level did have some cool stuff in it. My happiness was short-lived due to the fact that there were no poison plants to deal with the gloomies. Another anti-barrack unit that appeared was the redcaps. I was dealing with them fine for now. Aside from the gloomies giving me a hard time, we were chilling. Later into the level, the purple twins called their boyfriends on me. They weren't that impactful to a point where I needed to strategize for them though. Just as I thought I set everything up, our dragon friend pulled this on me. I obviously knew the crystals on our side was going to be broken eventually, but for some reason I thought it would have been an enemy entrance. That was silly of me. Why would an enemy entrance would be placed there? Managed to stabilize again after a while though. These baby crystal dragons were actually countering the Bandersnatches really well, so I made sure to buy all of them. And yeah, that was it for this level. Raz and Rags was unlocked, but I was already used to playing with Rexon, so I kept him. It's a pretty good decision to keep him as well anyways, since he completely counters the shrooms from this stage with his passive, as you can see. The hardest part of this level for me was to actually focus on the level instead of playing this fuck-ass memory game. It's actually a pretty good idea to play it, since it's just free money with no downsides. The max I got was 10 I think, and at that point the reward was like 100 gold. Confident with my economical advantage, I underestimated the redcaps a bit and lost a couple lives. Unless immediately one-shotted, they can easily overpower all my units. Well yeah, so I just one-shotted them. This stage was supposed to be pretty difficult for this challenge due to the shrooms, but it was actually so trivial thanks to Rag. Now, it was time to face the dummy mummy of all those purple fanboys we faced. This level was so easy for my loadout since I only had 2 exits to cover that were right near each other. I immediately bought the gnomes because of their money stealing ability, but had to be kinda careful since the bunnies they spawn won't be blocked by units and had to be dealt with ranged attacks. For that reason, this was going to be a forest guard heavy level rather than blade singers heavy. Made sure to always block these zealots so they don't make things harder for me. The gloomy waves kinda worried me a little, but other than that shit was easy, and it was time to face the queen.
I am still standing.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie, the forest keepers are just too fucking strong. Like genuinely look at this shit. Hopefully the final stage will prove some challenge. None of the newer enemies that appeared in this stage was anything special. The teleporters weren't really causing any changes in my gameplay, and the golems could just be dealt with using Rag's ability if necessary. This level was made too easy, probably to lure me into a false sense of security. Rag was maxed out now, so I was pretty confident. The next stage was pretty cool since it had the dragon, the legend, the big red, the Ashbite herself. Oh, and it also had this fucking loser. I forgot his name. Due to the way the teleporters were set, I decided to face the waves as early as possible, and despite Rexon's aerially deficient ass not being able to reach there, it was still mostly working. Until they appeared.
Wait and bleed.
The Cloud Fuckers. Imagine the parasites from Frontiers, and also imagine Griffith from Berserk. Now combine them. That's the Cloud Stalkers. Just look at this shit.
For the queen!
Yeah, Rexon was not going to work for this level I think. I at least survived that and set up some defenses, but it wasn't enough. My plan was to place units in the front to stall while the forest keepers on the back kills them, but when they pull up with large numbers, my dumbass units would only focus on one target and wouldn't have time to kill the other ones. At which case, the situation would get completely out of control. And as you can see, it got out of control. That was really pathetic. Anyways, I checked to see how Bersat's firing pattern works and picked Eridan and then went for another go. Actually really cool that even though the barracks are really strong, their weaknesses are still prominent. It's a sign of a balanced game design. My strategy was going to be mostly the same, but I was just going to focus on the back entrance a bit more. Eridan was actually able to hit certain enemies due to his range, which was nice. The lack of reg zone meant these golems were going to be a bit more of a problem, but it was not that big of a deal. And yeah, with the help of the extra damage from Eridan, some slightly better placed units, and a few well-timed spells, I did manage to get past that Cloudstalker wave. Potentially could have used Barracks, but I forgot. Rest of it was just a piece of cake. I kept Eridan in case of more Cloudstalker heavy levels. The gimmick of these Mactan's sons were pretty lackluster, since they were going to need to come to my choke point regardless of where they spawned on the map. This level seemed like it was going to have a lot of melee enemies, so I may have to bring out the Bladesingers again. With the appearance of the elf and the spider hybrid units like Arachnomancers and the Deriders, I was starting to worry about what horrors were transpiring in these ruins. Mactan also started pulling up to disable my towers, but she just leaves after getting slapped. This level in general was just a stat contest with all these heavy waves, and my barracks were perfectly suited for the job. Well, mostly. Things did get pretty close with these golems. I actually regret picking Eridan here since there wasn't even any Cloudstalkers. It ended up being fine anyways though. With that, it was time to retrieve our tier so we can give it to Veznan. All the heroes were unlocked and I picked my goat Wilbur. He was under leveled but it should be fine since he's already kinda broken.
You can be my wingman anytime!
I can't explain to you how much I loved voice acting in these games. Since we already started with this really powerful tower, it felt like this was going to be a piece of cake. And yeah, things were looking pretty good. Later into the level, Mactan started spamming these webs and units on the roads. She can be cancelled, but no matter how fast you cancel her, some web and spiders will appear either way. The large amount of these Cloudstalkers were fine somehow. I don't even know how really. Something similar to the previous level happened with the golems, but again I eventually got them. My main strat was to fill the map with forest keepers and max out their true damage spear ability, and yeah, as you can see. Now, to our final challenge. I'll let you enjoy the fight without my yapping.
I'll be your eyes in the sky! You have better Welcome to the danger zone! I'll be your eyes in the sky! You have better rule! You can be my wingman anytime! Welcome to the danger zone! In the sky! You have better rule! You can be my wingman anytime! Welcome to the danger zone! I'll be your eyes in the sky! You can be my wingman anytime! I'll be your eyes in the sky!
That felt a lot fast-paced than the Umbra fight. I think our units countered the waves they spawned pretty well, so it was still a pretty easy fight. Anyways, now to our question. Can these Twinks take it? Yes, they can. Thank you for watching till the end. You can watch the other challenge run I did as well. Have a nice day, bye.